YCOM aims to launch a premium international conference to disseminate knowledge about latest innovations and trends.
All our activities should be governed by a lighting of knowledge, especially the knowledge of Dharma. By this knowledge, ignorance or darkness is dispelled.
When it comes to knowledge, we all at some point of our life have come across this road. Jnana Devatu Kaivalya. Jnana, knowledge of the divine. Kaivalya, which means salvation. I would like to invite Ms. Priyanka Kamble and Ms. Neha Kamble, our MMS student for Saraswati Vandana.
I would request all our dignitaries to do the honors by lighting the lamp of knowledge. Yaman.
फोटोग्राफ लेना
कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रामृता या वीणावरकण्ठमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्कर प्रभृतिः देवै सदा वन्दिता सा मातातु सरस्वती भगवती शेषजाड्यापः.
Thank you, Bhagyashree, and thank you, Swapnali. Good morning, everyone. And it's an honor and privilege today to welcome St. Gupta sir, Dr. Kavita ma'am, and Mr. Dhal, because he told me how to pronounce his surname. We are very emotional today. I think the YMT faculty members are very emotional today because we have been talking about an international conference for almost a year now. And we kept saying, what will happen? Can we do it? What will happen if we fail? And today we are all here. We have managed to do what we thought of, dreamt of, and aspired. And to have St. Gupta sir to inaugurate it, it's like the best beginning to anything that has to do with academics. I'm not going to read his resume or repertoire because I'm too small a person to do that, but one thing I know, that for all of us who are associated with higher education, sir is like a guardian, sir is like a legend now. So I want everyone to give him a huge round of applause. Encourage us, motivate us, and I'm quite sure with his blessings and his guidance, YMT will be doing many, many more new things in future and many, many more experiments, and we can even dare to think bigger. I would also like to welcome Dr. Kavita. Ma'am may not be from our management field, but she has done more research than any of us in this room. I can tell that for sure. Actually, I used to envy ma'am because dental college used to have an international conference like every 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. And I was like, when are we going to have one? So today I can proudly tell ma'am that ma'am, we also had one. At least we made a beginning. And I think we are able to achieve these things because they support us. They are not visible, but they are there. Every event, every step we take, our management, our trustees, Chairman sir, Kalpana ma'am, Kavita ma'am, Patil sir, Rishi sir, are just there behind us like the true leaders. Because I think the definition of leaders have changed. It is not about leading the team, it is about supporting the team. And they have been doing a tremendous job. So ma'am, with the welcome, I also want to thank you on behalf of my team for letting us experiment with things and letting us do things that we want to do, and encouraging our entire team to make decisions, to do events, and have the courage to do things which were never done before. And a special welcome to Mr. Dhal. He is a criminologist. Have I pronounced that correctly? So it's such a beautiful combination here. An academic doyen, as we call it, a medical professional, and a criminologist. So this is true international as well as what we call as a industrial flavor to our entire event. People from different spheres are here as a guest. I will not take much of time because they have better things to speak about. But I will say thank you all for being here this morning. Thank you all for believing in the YMT dream. And moreover, we need to take this opportunity to thank our chairman sir, because without his vision, all this wouldn't have been possible. So once again, a very warm welcome to all the delegates, my students, my faculty, staff, and a revered and honored, respectful welcome to all the dignitaries on the stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Swati Pradoshi, for sharing your insightful message with all of us. Today, we are honored to have such illustrious chief guest, Dr. Sen Gupta, with us to grace this event. May I request our Director in charge, Professor Swati Pradoshi, to give a Tulsi sapling as a gesture of welcome on behalf of YCOM to our chief guest, Dr. Sen Gupta.
I request Professor Swati Pradoshi to welcome our today's special guest, Mr. Snehil Dhar. And our beloved trustee, Dr. Kavita Paul Nalaudi. Thank you, ma'am.
I would request Dr. Sima Krishnan to present the keynote address.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning. Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Sen Gupta. Our special guest, Mr. Dhar, our trustee, Dr. Kavita Paul, our beloved IC Director, Professor Swati Pradoshi, faculty members, teaching members, and my dear students. Actually, it's a proud moment for us because we are holding our first international conference. I need applause, please. It is very important that we academicians meet together in such kind of intellectual occasions. But at the same time, it also helps us to think that are we adequately preparing ourselves to advance our nation into future? The prime concern to many of us is that we are working in conservation with academia. The theme of this conference is Global Development through Management and IT Thought Process. It's a prime occasion for us because we are going to discuss about different aspects of our global scenarios and application of business practices which help us to share different perspectives which is related to management and IT. It's a great opportunity for us because we are going to learn many things because we have got a number of research scholars also, at the same time speakers also globally who are going to share their views, their ideas, their perspective on management and IT areas. So it's a happy learning process for us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
May I request Dr. Kavita, our beloved trustee, to share some insights with our gallery.
Hello. A very warm good morning to all.
on behalf of the management of Dr. G. Cole Foundations or Management College, NET College, all the colleges here in these premises, I would heartily welcome Mr. Sen Gupta sir, Mr. Dhal sir to our institute. Well, I would even love to welcome all the delegates of the dais who are from our institute, of course, are our family members, but the staff members who come from the other colleges to our institute. A very, very warm welcome. Now, the topic is global development and actually integrating management and technology for processes. Well, I think Mr. Sen Gupta sir, Mr. Dhal sir would have a lot to share with you all about it. But one thing that strikes my mind when I read the topic is, I'm a medico. I feel that technology, I feel that management and medical stream together, if integrated, can actually do wonders. We call ourselves a developing country, but we need technocrats, technologically and skillfully, absolutely sound people who can actually take that step ahead and take our country to that level. Well, to do that, we do not have random people just saying that, hey, I'm going to develop the country. We need those type of technologically elite people who can do this, of course. To do that, we cannot do it without research, be it in the field of medical, be it in the field of management, technology, wherever you need research to actually have that credential to actually for us to take that lead. This research makes no sense if it is not published, be it national, be it international publications. That's what I was just speaking to ma'am, that for us in our medical field, to actually grow, to actually get those designations, we need to have n number of national, n number of international publications for us to be recognized as somebody in our faculty. So is it the same in the management field? So she told me, yes, that we have to have a certain amount of, not points per se, but certain amount of publications. I think that's a great thing. And I can see a few students sitting here. I think you should do research. Actually, in our dental college, it's not boasting, but I would love to tell you all that our students have done research on, what are braces, right? So we have done research on braces and we've actually given it a name, YMT Orthodontic Appliance. And that is published in the international publication. So the students who did it, the staff who did it, and the college got that due recognition in that way. So for all this, I guess research and publications are extremely important. With these few words, I think I could impart what I wanted to say in these few words. I think the rest of the dignitary will be able to explain things in a much better way, I guess. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your views.
We are privileged to have such a dynamic personality, Dr. A.K. Sen Gupta, Director of SIS College of Management, Nehru. It's my immense pleasure to introduce him. He is doctorate in finance. During 1976 to 1990, he had worked in the banking system in India and abroad in various capacities. From 1990 to 94, he was professor at National Institute of Bank Management, Pune, the apex training research and consulting organization for the financial system in India. From 1994 to 97, he worked as a World Bank consultant in Ghana, Africa, to help the government in financial sector reforms and was instrumental in setting up National Bank College in Ghana as the apex training research and consulting organization for senior top bank executives for sub-Saharan Africa. From 1997 to 2002, he was associated with SP Jain Institute of Management and Research, Mumbai as director. From the year 2002 till date, he is working as a director with SIS College of Management Studies, Nehru.
Let us have the pleasure of listening to the Dr. Sain Gupta. Sir, kindly honor us with your words.
Dr. Sarita, Professor Swati, Mr. Dal, the faculty colleagues from the college and the other colleges, the delegates of the research conference, and most importantly, the dear students. You know, normally for the last 7 to 8 years, when we founded the Higher Education Forum, I move across the country, but I move across the country in a different capacity altogether, not in the capacity of the administrator of a management college. I move across the country more as a researcher, more as a philosopher. I interact with a large number of the students all across the country. I try to gauge what's happening on the field in the area of the education. And when I say education, it's not only management education, it's engineering education, it's technical education, it's MBA education, it's medical education, every type of education. We try to have a feel and the pulse of the faculty, because that's what on the posters lies. And we try to see what's happening actually. There are a lot of good things which are happening in India, like this, the research conference, international research conference. It's a good thing. And since it's a good thing, therefore I came over here. When Professor Swati came and talked in my office, he talked so emotionally, but I could not say no. Otherwise, I normally would not have come on a Saturday morning. But I came only because it's a good thing. First of all, I have come here earlier. Once I think I've come over here, but Dr. Bobby used to be here. Also, we have a higher education for even somewhere on the floor, I think in this room or some other room. But since it's a very good thing which is happening, I came over here to share some of my thoughts. Now, when I move around the country, as I told that some of the things which are happening, which are very good things which are happening in the country. For example, we see a lot of enthusiastic youth. We see a lot of responsive youth. We see a lot of dynamic and aggressive youth. And we see a lot of difference between the youth of our time and the youth of your time. We were youth for 40 years before in your age. So there is a lot of difference I see between the youth of the 30 years or 40 years before and the youth of today. And I see today, I don't say it's a globally competitive youth. I don't put that very generic sense. But definitely, if you look at a segment of youth in India today, I don't say all, but a segment of the youth in India today, definitely I see a globally competitive youth. I see a youth which is technologically extremely savvy. I see a youth which is extremely demanding. So that's a positive side of it. And that's a good sign in India. I'm talking in terms of the human capital, not in terms of infrastructure, not in terms of physical. Because I personally believe there is a human capital which is more important for growth of any organization, for any institution, any country, rather than what's happening in terms of buildings. There is a negative side of it. The negative side of it, I see that there is a lot of disgruntled youth because the job opportunities are not there. I see the youth, they are detached from the system. That means if the classes are happening, the students are not interested. Students are neither interested in classes. The youth is not interested in the jobs. They are in their own world. They are in their own makeshift world. So whether you call it a Y generation, Z generation, baby boom, etc., a lot of technological, a lot of technical terms are come of play. But we see a lot of disenchanted youth all over the world. It's true in India also. We see a lot of disgruntled youth. We see Indian youth, a large number of the Indian youth who are unemployed or underemployed. And that's a huge problem. You know, underemployment and what we technically in our sense of economics we talk about disguised unemployment is a more serious problem in India rather than unemployment. Because look at the government of India statistics today, the unemployment in December hovering between 14% to 17%. But if we add to that the disguised unemployment, our unemployment will be somewhere in the range of 30 to 35%. That means 30 to 35% of the people are not happy, because I don't have a job and therefore I cannot be happy. So I see that's the negative side of it. I don't think they balance out. You know, normally when we see a positive thing somewhere, when we see a negative thing somewhere, we normally feel that things will balance out, but things don't balance out. And I see today that unless and until the demands of the youth are met, either by the government or by the system or by the employers or by the private sector or the public sector, everybody I'm talking about, essentially I think India is in for a problem. Everybody say India is a country of opportunities. I do believe India is a country of opportunities. I still feel that this is the right time to be born as a youth in this time. Because when we were born, we didn't have an opportunity. When we grew, we didn't have mentors. When we went up into the life, we didn't have an opportunities. We had only one opportunity in the public sector. We didn't have a private sector. We didn't have innovation. We didn't have an entrepreneurship. I'm saying we didn't have anything when we grew up. When I went first time to abroad, let's say somewhere in 1989 and 1990, and when I was walking out of, when I was walking out in the, let's say outside the city of the airport of London, you know, you'll be surprised to see that I did not find an Indian, other than Indians were sweeping the airport. I didn't find an Indian. Barring a few places here and there, South Hall and the Petticoat and etc., which are very popular places for the Indians or the Bangladeshi people. I happen to be a person from Bangladesh, therefore I'm telling that these are the two places which are very popular, the South Hall and the Petticoat lane. But other than that, if you stand in any particular place, whether you're talking about you stand in London or if you stand in France or anywhere in the world, you hardly find an Indian. So that was the time when we were, I'm talking about. When we were brought up, we were talking about one particular car or two particular car models. That's the type of India we were brought up. And therefore we feel that we're fortunate to be born in a time, in particular India, where there is a tremendous amount of opportunities. That's what I was talking about. It's a place of opportunities today. It's a gold mine. India is virtually a gold mine. But unless and until the system, let me go back to my earlier statement, that unless and until the system, the education system, the government, the public health system, etc., they take care of the aspirations of the youth, of the expectations of the youth, of the demanding needs of the youth, I personally feel India is going to be in a problem. And when I say India in a problem, it's not that India is in a problem, it's a global problem. If you look at the globe today, that means I'm talking about, don't look at the earlier part of the world, but if you look at the last 100 years of the world, you know, there was a period in the world when we talk about the First World War. When we talked about the period in the world when we talk about the Second World War. If you look into the world after a period of Second World War, we have been passing through a particular cyclical phases. That means somewhere there has been up, somewhere there has been a down, somewhere there has been up, somewhere there has been a down in terms of the economic sense I'm talking about. Somewhere the periods are very good. Last time we had a very bad period in 2008 and 2009. Before that we had a very bad time somewhere in the period of 2000. Then we had a very bad time somewhere in the period of 1993-94. So I am talking about after 8 to 10 years of period of time in the world, we always see an ups and downs. And that's what we talk about, that the world economy is passing through a cyclical phenomenon. It's not a normal plateau phenomenon, it's not a normal growth phenomenon, it's not normal life cycle phenomenon, it is a cyclical phenomenon. The world economy has faced a cyclical phenomenon. But there was one important trend in the world economy. And that important trend was that if you look at the last 50 years, that means I am talking about 2010 if you go back. I am talking about 1960 to 2010. One thing was very prominent. World GDP has approximately increased roughly at a rate of 1.8% per annum. Roughly it has increased at a rate of 1.8% per annum. I am talking about world's global GDP. So don't go by 7.6%, 7.8% Indian GDP growth. I'm talking of world's GDP had grown by 1.6 to 1.8%. And one of the reasons was that there was a tremendous amount of a demographic productivity. That means people were young. People were productive. Therefore, the countries of the world which meant much things to us, a country like USA, a country like UK, a country like Germany, a country like China, these are the countries I'm talking about, the countries which means to the world, a country like France and so on and so forth. They are the countries which mean much thing to us. People were much young. And therefore, their productivity counted. And since their productivity was at a peak level, and that was the main reason for driving the GDP at the rate of 1.8% per annum on an annual basis for the last 50 years. Now, if you look into the latest World Bank research, why I'm quoting the research? Because there is a relevant research. Otherwise, I'm not quoting the these figures of research. Now, if you look at the latest World Bank research reports, they say, World Bank happens to my alma mater, and therefore I always quote wherever I go, roughly some work of the World Bank. If you look at the World Bank research report, they say that the things are going to be extremely reverse, or exactly the reverse for the next 50 years. Next 50 years, GDP growth rate is going to come down by 50%. That means from 1.5 to 1.8%, it is likely to come down to 0.7 to 0.9%. Per capita income, in terms of the nominal price, when you talk about the per capita income, either you calculate the nominal prices or you calculate the purchasing power parity, which we talk about PPP. PPP is not an indicator, it's mainly the nominal income which is more important indicator. So in terms of per capita income, is likely to come down by 20%. What it means, and what is going to happen, they're talking about it will happen because the world is aging. Because the productivity of the human beings are going to come down. For the countries which meant to us. Again the same country. I'm talking a country like China, the country like Mexico, the country like USA, the country like UK, the country like Germany, the country like France, where there is an aging population for the next 50 years. And since I am becoming aged, my productivity comes down. And since my productivity comes down, my contribution to the society will come down. And since my contribution to the society will come down, GDP will come down. That's the logic. Therefore, what is likely to happen for the next 50 years is the GDP growth rate is going to come down by 50%. And per capita income in terms of the nominal price growth is likely to come down by 20%. What it means? It essentially means that for next 50 years, it is going to be a difficult time for the world. Unless and until people try to compensate the productivity through innovation. Are you getting my point? That there is a manual productivity, but nowadays the manual productivity is very less. It is more of a technological productivity supporting a manual productivity. The things which are doing previously by the human beings are being done by the drones or being done by some amount of other gadgets and machines and so on and so forth. If you look at any big plant of the world, you will see they are totally automated or semi-automated. Recently I had been to the world's largest ceramic plant in the world. I had been to Dubai for 7 days for addressing some of the students. So they have the world's largest ceramic plant, which is called the RAK ceramic. RAK stands for Ras Al Khaimah. Ras Al Khaimah is a part of a United Arab Emirates. That is the world's largest ceramic plant. They have created the largest ceramic plant in the desert. I will talk about productivity. If you go into their 36 plants, you will see all 36 plants, the contribution, the physical labor is hardly 10%, 90% is the contribution of the computers or robots. 90% is the contribution of the robots or the computer. This is what I was talking about, that in case of when population is aging up, if it is compensated significantly by the technology and the innovation, what the World Bank is trying to say may not come true. But if the innovation is not in a position to keep up the pace, then possibly what the World Bank is trying to say is likely to come true, that the GDP is going to fall down. Per capita income at a global level is to fall down. And that essentially means actually that our future, your future, your children's future, because after 50 years, many of you will become at the age at what we are doing. That's what I'm talking about. So after 40 to 50 years, I'm talking about your children's future, maybe your grandchildren's future is at stake from a global economic perspective. India is going to be an exception to that because during the next 50 years, India will not have be defined as an aging country, but it is actually a fertile country. That's why there is a lot of contradiction. Though the world's GDP is likely to fall down, India's GDP is likely to go up because we have a very young population. But if the youth remains alienated, if youth remains disappointed, majority of the youth, if they take exodus to the different countries of the world, and that's what is happening actually. The good people of the world, I don't say good people, but there is a huge exodus from the Indian market to the outside market today. Not only in terms of the talent and manpower, but even in terms of the industries. For example, Tata's. They are investing more outside than inside. If you look at the big houses today, they are donating more to the Harvard Business School, they are donating more to the Stanford, they are donating to the IIM Ahmedabad or IIM Bangalore today. So there is a huge amount of outflow of the money today in terms of the development of the human capital outside the country by the Indians outside. And that is essentially happening because our system is at fault. Our system is not working the way it should work. Our system is absolutely either giving a resistance to any change or but the system does not support a change. The political system, the bureaucratic system, the nexus, the crony capitalism, the fallout of the crony capitalism, the lessening contribution of the GDP in terms of agriculture, which used to be 50% has come down to 17%. So that means you have a 70% population remaining in the villages and 70% of the population remaining in the India has about 6 lakh villages, 70% of the people live in the villages and contribution to the village sector, agricultural sector is today only 17% of the GDP, 17, only 17% of the GDP. That essentially means that our priorities are not what we should have been. The priority should have been agricultural sector reforms, not the banking reforms, but our priorities are to be creating a smart city and creating a banking reforms and creating more licenses to the bank and not to develop the villages. So somewhere there is a misplaced priority in the country. It's not that this government or the past government. I'm not talking about government. I'm a completely apolitical person. I mean away from all government systems, all political systems. But I'm talking about somewhere down the line, during the last 50 to 60 years point of time, though we knew that we are going to have a tremendous amount of advantage in terms of the burgeoning youth. About 30 to 40% of the people are below 25% of age, 25 years of age. That means we have got a huge amount of youth population. And that itself can compensate the innovation. We do not need so much of innovation because our human power, manpower is sufficient to take care of the entire productivity. But we have not been able to do it because of the misplaced priorities by the various government. And therefore, though India is a country of opportunities, if you are not in a position to take care of the opportunities properly, India, opportunity may not be an opportunity what the government says, it will land up into a country of more of a night. That's one thing I'm not talking about in a pessimistic thing. Please don't misunderstand. I'm trying to put both the things together. That India is a great country, it is an opportunity country, but at the same time, probably there's a need for change in the policy, and therefore a lot of research needs to be done in terms of innovation, in terms of how to improve the productivity of the industrial laborer, etc., and so on and so on. The second aspect. World Bank, I come to one particular issue. Because there are so many things which one can talk about what's happening in the world, so I don't want to get more of a theoretical in nature. But one issue which is very close to my heart, I'll talk about that. We talk about poverty. India is a land of poverty. Now what is poverty? There are different definitions of the poverty. Latest definition India is talking about in terms of a Tendulkar committee recommendations in terms of defining a poverty. I'm not talking about the Tendulkar committee recommendation. Those who are interested, they can go and look at the website. Tendulkar committee, they care about that poverty. Let's not go to that. There is a World Bank definition. I will go only by the World Bank definition because that's a mother definition applicable to all countries of the world. And the mother definition is that if an individual it is defined in terms of income. Poverty can be defined either in terms of income or in terms of expenses. I am talking about in terms of income. That's the World Bank definition. If your income is less than $1.25 a day, that means about today's purchasing power, not purchasing power under the nominal value, about 70 rupees. About 70 rupees a day, you are supposed to be below poverty line. If you multiply it by 30, it comes approximately 2001. That means if a gentleman or a lady has got an income of less than 2,100 rupees a month, you will be considered as a what is called a below poverty line, and so on and so forth. And you will be shocked to know. That's the point I wanted to say. The poverty line is so abysmally low, but despite that, our different statistics are different things. There is a Center for Policy Research, that's one body. There is a CIME, which is an industrial body. There are different bodies I'm talking about. If you take any of these bodies and take the mean or an average of that, about 25% to 27% of the Indian population, that is about 250 million to 275 million of the Indian population are below the poverty line by considering $1.25 per day of an income. Now you can imagine that 275 million population is equal to the population of several countries in the world put together. तो हम जो बोलते हैं हमारी 1.3 बिलियन की पॉपुलेशन है, उसके अंदर में करीबन 250 से लेकर 280 मिलियन आदमी हमारे पास में है जिनकी इनकम पर डे $1.25 से कम. That's the India. If that's a real India, so this is not the real India where we are sitting. That's a real India. If that's a real India, the focus should be how should I bring, not by tinkering the facts and figures. Government tries to tinker the facts and figures. ये कमेटी बना, वो कमेटी बना, पॉवर्टी लाइन ऊंचा कर दिया, उससे कुछ नहीं होता है. Go by the World Bank figure, that is static for many years. So if you are looking at that $1.25 income, how do I bring that 25% to 20%, 20% to 18%, 18% to 15%, 15% to 10%, so that we can say that we have got very less number of, I mean to say, people below the poverty line. What it means that our focus of research, our focus of application is not going to be how do I sell my product in those below the poverty line market, bottom of the pyramid and so on and so on. Our focus of policy research should be how do I reduce my below the poverty line people. What do I do in order to ensure by my various policy reform measures so that I bring up the people to a particular level that the 27% of the people who are below the poverty line, how do I reduce that percentage to 27%, to 25%, to 24%, to 23%, to 21% for next 20 years. Neither the Congress government has done it, not this government has done it. Point I'm trying to highlight is that sometimes we from an academic world, and we are sometimes talk to the rebellious people. That's a different issue. But because we tell the truth, and what I am trying to say is hard facts are matter. We are looking at the facts and figures which are taking right or wrong anywhere. $1.25, 250 million of the people below the poverty line. Am I taking right or wrong things? So the priority of the research among the young people should be, or priority of the application of the knowledge which you gain should be that how do I focus my energy to bring up the number of the people below the poverty line from 25% to 10% over the next 10 years period of time. If that happens, India will be really a Ram Raj. I did not create a 100 smart cities. If I have a plan of action in such a way so that I can bring up these people who are below the poverty line to the upper poverty line. Well, government has been doing a lot of things now. You must be knowing. A lot of things are happening. Good things are happening in the country. A lot of the pace of toilet creation in the country has gone up. Good thing is happening today. The Jan Dhan Yojana, though I do not know how far it is successful, but at least that is a statement that is to some extent is a good statement. That a lot of below the poverty line of the people are trying to create some bank account, etc. etc. A lot of things are happening good in India. It's not that all our bad things are happening in India, not at all. A lot of good things are happening, but the policy research by the private sector, by the public sector, by the policy maker should be, one of the priorities I'm talking about, should be eradication of the poverty. If eradication is never possible in India, alleviation of the poverty. Alleviation is also not possible, reduction of the poverty. Reduction also is not possible, at least maintaining the 21%. Because if I don't take any action, I am sure that 20% or 21% is going to become 30% after 25 years. Because the disparity of income in India is increasing so fast. The disparity of the income in India is increasing so fast that if no actions are taken on the ground, the total percentage of the people in India below the poverty line will be more than what it is. Unless and until you tinker with the number. That means 1.25 को बढ़ा के 1.5 कर, तो naturally कुछ लोग नीचे चले जाएंगे. 1.5 को बढ़ा के 1.75 कर जाए, कुछ लोग और नीचे चले जाएंगे. That's what is happening in India. But you should maintain the same figure and then see that how many people are below it or above. That's what the World Bank says. So that's one very serious area of reforms, and I think that the management educators, the management policy makers, management students, they should try to look at it, that how do I bring down poverty, because that's the biggest challenge in India today. Anywhere in India today, go for any conference or any seminar, we break our heads the poverty. Poverty is the biggest problem. It's not the poverty I'm talking about Dhara. It's not the poverty I'm talking about the beggars. I'm talking about actually the rural poverty. I don't know how many of you cook, or how many are born, or how many are going to the village. I know because I have been associated with several village projects. I know the poverty means what type of poverty. People don't have any food. Forget $1.25. That's too much. Even a whole family doesn't have $1.25 a day. Forget one person. Family of 4 to 6. That's the unit size I'm talking. That they don't have an income of $1.25 a day. So that's the tragedy of it. The second area of reform, and where a lot of research needs to be done, is education. As far as education goes, we are in shambles. 1968-69 was the time, for the only time in India, when India had a comprehensive education policy which is called a Kothari Commission. Those of you who are more interested, they can have a look at it. It is called a Kothari Commission's report. That was the first time in independent India, the government of India came out with a comprehensive policy of national education policy. उसके बाद में छोटा मोटा की लोग इधर से उधर से उधर बोलते रहे. 1986 में दूसरा पॉलिसी बना जो कि अमेंड हुआ 1992 में. That is the second education policy which came out in 1986 as amended in 1992, but nothing tangible different from 1968 कोठारी कमीशन से. उसके बाद में आज तक कुछ एजुकेशन पॉलिसी हुआ नहीं. हर एक, अब हम लोग 12 फाइबर प्लान में हैं, हर एक प्लान में एक एजुकेशन में चैप्टर होता है, 50 चैप्टर, 60 चैप्टर, 70 चैप्टर है, और एक अगर आप देखेंगे उसमें कुछ चेंज नहीं है, इधर से उधर चेंज कर देते हैं, डाटा बदल जाता है, but डाटा इज चेंजिंग, otherwise nothing changes actually. Now for the first time, Madam Smriti Irani had attempted to do an educational policy. This is the first time in the independent history that at least some minister of HRD has rose up, have risen up. Whether she knows about education, that's a different thing altogether. But she has a lot of advisors of education. So at least they have risen up and they have told, we need a policy on education. Now whether it will see a light of day or not, whether it will come out or not, whether it will be acceptable to us or not, maybe the points are not acceptable to us. We have seen that. But I'm talking whether it will be acceptable to us at a large or not, whether it will bring the possible reforms or not, I do not know. But the fact of the matter remains, unless and until there is a change in the educational policy today, I don't think that we can proceed further in the light of nations. And when I say education, I am talking from the primary education. I am not talking from the medical education or the MBA education or the MCA education. I am talking from the primary education. So reforms are needed at a primary education. Reforms are extremely essential at a primary education level. And I don't know whether you know about it or not, that we have a primary education is one of the most neglected sector. Don't compare yourself with the DPS, Ryan International School or Nida Ambani School. Don't look at those schools. I think then we are totally looking at something completely different picture altogether. Look at the municipal picture, which are the true indicator of an education policy of a country, and you will see what shambles we are in. There are no chairs, there are no tables, there are only students, there are no teachers, there are no toilets, there are no midday meal, there are no half time midday meal. I think it is shambles. They don't read anything, they are not confident, they can't speak, they don't know anything other than the regional language. Here they know only Marathi, in Bengal they learn only Bengali, nothing else in. They can't speak, they can't talk. Half of them are in malnutrition. I mean, it is in shambles. And 80% of the primary school providers today are by municipal. That means 80% of the products which are coming out of the school system are malnutrited, half concorded, half IQ driven, totally local linguistic driven kids who do not know anything of the world. And how do I create them into productive individuals after 15 years? It's impossible. It is just impossible. Look at the other countries of the world. Look at China. Look at USA. Look at Germany. Look at France. Look at Belgium. Look at this country which are very, look at Netherlands. Look at these countries where they have actually reformed the education system. They reformed the education system for the primary system. They have committed that my government schools will be as equal as a private school. That is the first principle. The मेरा government school जो है वो private school से अच्छा होगा, खराब नहीं होगा. That's the, and therefore they have changed the complexion. Therefore in America, even an American couple don't mind to send their child to the state schools or the state colleges because the private schools are exorbitantly priced. Exorbitantly priced. You can't send your child to an America in a private school. It's just not possible for an average person like us. The cost is exorbitant, about $100,000 a year. It's an exorbitant price I'm talking about. $200,000 a year. It doesn't make any sense at all. There was $100,000, 10 years, we're talking about $1 million. It doesn't make any sense at all. But yet the people don't mind sending the children to the government schools. The reason is that the government schools are almost as good as the private schools. And that is fundamental principle of reform. That agar mere ko apne bachcho ko, that's why you know the Akhilesh Yadav government, I commented for a statement. He came out with a statement very, you know, all parties do bad things, but all parties do something good also. You know, Akhilesh Yadav, Samajwadi Party, came out with a beautiful statement one day. And that's that the statement was that henceforth all UP bureaucrats shall be forced to send their children only to the government. It never happened. What was the intention of the statement? The intention of the statement was that I should try to upgrade the quality of my municipal school or my state-run schools in such a way so that the best of the people won't mind sending their children to the municipal school. And therefore, I personally think that is the second area of reform. I don't want to go beyond that because I don't think I will take another 5 minutes only. I don't want to go. I have to also go back. So I thought that the second area of reform which is needed because if these two areas are not taken care of, poverty and the school reforms. You can talk about management, you can talk about migrant quota, you can talk about several things, you can talk about BCD map, those are big things. Those things don't work in India. What is needed in India, first of all, हमारे घर का पहले तरह के खाना खाने के लिए आएगी नहीं है, BCD मैट्रिक्स की बात करेंगे. वो बात की बात है, माइग्रेंट वोटर की बात हम करें, वो सब बात का बात है, वो सब चलता रहेगा. लेकिन पहले खाने के लिए तो होना चाहिए ना. So poverty and schooling, I think these are the two major issues which we need to look at. And finally, third, where we are better placed, safer placed, but still there is a lot of reform, and that is the healthcare reform. Healthcare. You know, because your food, that's I'm talking about the poverty. Food and shelter, that's I'm talking the indicator of the poverty. Education. How do I develop myself and my children? And third is, I cannot do anything if my health is not taken care of. Look at any part of the world. There is a debate. But you look at any part of the world. When I say debate, that means people say that tomorrow should not be done. But any part of the world, everywhere there is 100% social security. You go to the USA, everything is taken care of. You go to the UK, everything is taken care of. Go to the China, everything is taken care of. Look at the capitalist country, look at the communist country, everything is taken care of. India, nothing is taken care of. It's a zero in policy. Zero social security policy today in India, as of today. And therefore, though in case of healthcare, we are much better placed in terms of the quality of doctors, in terms of the number of the companies, because we are the largest number of the companies, in terms of the volume of growth, we are one of the healthcare sector, one of the largest, though there is no organized sector which is working in healthcare sector. For example, Tata and Birla, they are not there, but still we are one of the largest, I mean, manufacturing sector of the world. We have become the most attractive tourism, attractive destination for the purpose of the medical tourism, etc., etc. So those are the plus points of the healthcare reform. So we are much better placed. But fundamental problem remains that if a villager has got a problem, if a person in Dharavi has got a problem, a poor person whose income is less than $1.25 has got a problem, where that goes. Their MRI doesn't work, the CT scan doesn't work, the doctors don't look after them, half of the hospital don't have the doctors. The government started talking about mandatory requirement of doctor going to the villages. Scheme has faltered. In all states, there was a scheme as faltered because of the bureaucratic interventions. So we have serious problems. I am talking about not healthcare for you and me. We are very well placed in city of Bombay. But look at the healthcare of the people, where people have to travel 30 kilometers to go to deliver their child. 30, 40 kilometers I'm talking. Just go to 50. I was in a village that day. In a village nearby Shahpur Saruga in Bombay, Nasik Road, and I went to a village which is called a Kharpada village because we are adapting a village there, so I wanted to have a look at that particular village. And the nearest hospital from that particular village is a tribal village. The nearest hospital from the village is about 35 kilometers. Now when I asked any lady that how the sarpanch is the lady, I asked that lady that what happened if something happened at night? There is no hospital, there is no mobile van. There is no nursing hospital, there is nothing in that particular hospital, that village. None of those paras means the villages I'm talking about, Pada, it's a 7 villages actually. One of the villages is the Kharpada, but it's a congregation of the 7 paras. And we are surprised to know that none of the paras they have got a hospital. Everywhere they have to take to the Shahpur, which is about 30 to 35 kilometers, somewhere it is 15 kilometers, somewhere it is 20 kilometers, there is no bus line. So something happens to a lady, something happens to an older gentleman, something happens to a sick person. They have to travel or they have to carry on the back or take on the back of a motorcycle. I mean to say, but the roads are like this, back of a motorcycle for about 1 hour to go to a hospital. That is the plight of the real India. So we need to have very seriously healthcare reforms. So what I am trying to say is that if you are somebody is serious in looking at the future of the country, that's the last word I wanted to say, that the future of a country, it's like this. Dalai Lama gave a very good statement. I am not a spiritual person. For example, I am totally atheist. I don't believe in any God. I don't believe in a particular religion, because I personally feel that every religion leads to one supernatural person. I don't think there is a point in fighting in the name of the religion. It doesn't make any sense at all. So I don't believe in a particular religion. I am fond of certain people, and one of the fondest people is Dalai Lama. Because of the nature of what I would say the Buddhism, etc. That the current Dalai Lama has come out with a very interesting statement. Please remember the statement. The statement is that when a person is dead, person will not be known for how many cars or what type of cars he had. But a person will be known how many people he had even lived in his cars. That's a classic statement. Classic statement today the young people must become sensitive. The model of the particular statement was that the rich person, I can live in a 27 mansion building, but that's not what I'm going to live at the end of the day. I am going to live how many villages I have created, how many villages I have made, how many toilets I have created in different types of villages so that the villages will remember me. That's what Rabbi Dalai Lama wanted to say. And therefore I strongly feel that if you are looking at an India of tomorrow, if you are looking at the corporate, managerial, technocrat, executives of India tomorrow, and if you really want to find out or see for yourself, your children, a better India, a greater India, a prosperous India than what we have seen, I think these 3 reforms are mandatory. Reforms in the area of the education, reforms in the area of the poverty, and reforms in the area of health. If these 3 fundamental things are taken care of, all other things India already has. India has a large number of entrepreneurs. India has a large number of enterprising public youth. India has a large number of technologically savvy youth who know what to do and what not to do. India has got a large, today whenever we go to a tourist site, these are the largest population of Indians. And sometimes we feel very proud of being Indian because you see a large number of Indians. Not only that, there are different types of Indians. Not the types of Indians what we used to be in our 20s and 30s. When we used to go to UK, we look like this. Today they look like this. There are different types of Indians I'm talking about. We are very scared because there were no Indians on the road. Today we are very proud because there are a lot of Indians around. That's the difference. Not that Indian nature has changed, but the type of the climate has changed. So whenever I go, we see, you go to Niagara Falls today, you will see about any point in time you will see 50 to 60% of the Indians. At any point in that, any season if you go, you will find 50 to 60% Indians. You go to any of the 3-star hotel, the 4-star hotel, don't go to the 5-star hotel, there the Indians don't want to go. But you go to the 3-star hotel, the 4-star hotel, anywhere in the world, you will see 20 to 25% Indians. That means the Indians are already the bright Indians. What I am trying to say, India has everything. If these 3 things are taken care of, the education, the poverty, and the healthcare. And if the research is done on that, application is done on that, I think we will see definitely a better India. Thank you for calling me once again, Professor.
Thank you, sir, for sharing such a wonderful things with us. Sir, whatever you have mentioned, the figures, the statistics, really we have to think on it, and we will try to contribute something from our side to our society. Thank you.
Now I request our Director in charge, Professor Swati Doshi, to give a memento of gratitude to Dr. Sen Gupta.
आगे जाना
Thank you, ma'am.
And BA Honours in Criminology from United Kingdom and International Baccalaureate Diploma from Singapore. He is the founder and director of Crimophobia Limited, England and Wales. Proprietor India, founder of International Institute of Criminology Studies, Victim Support, Crimophobia, E-News and Crimophobia Productions. He is Head of Transactional Organized Crime Research Department, India. He is Director of International Relations for Leo Multiple District 323. He is also Hindu Grant Researcher in collaboration with International Society of Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON, India.
Let us have the delight of listening to Mr. Snehil Tal.